You wake up tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep can fix. Not the kind that disappears after coffee. This is different. Your body is there, but your mind feels heavy. Slow, foggy, unmotivated. And the first thought that hits you is always the same. Why am I so lazy? You look at others. They wake up early, they work, they move, they seem driven. And you delay. You scroll. You avoid. So you label yourself lazy. But deep down, something doesn't feel right. Because it's not that you don't want to do better. It's not that you don't have dreams. You do. You think about changing your life all the time. You imagine becoming more disciplined, more focused, more successful. But when it's time to act, you freeze. And that's where the misunderstanding begins. Because laziness looks like inaction. But so does exhaustion. Mental exhaustion. The kind that builds quietly day after day. Stress, overthinking, pressure, comparison, unresolved emotions. You carry all of it, and no one sees it. From the outside, it looks like you're doing nothing. But inside your head, you are fighting constantly, thinking, doubting, replaying, worrying. It never stops. And that drains you, more than physical work ever could. So when you finally get a moment to act, your brain chooses the easiest escape. Scrolling, sleeping, avoiding. Not because you're weak, but because you're overwhelmed. And here's the truth no one tells you. You are not lazy. You are overloaded. Your mind is tired from carrying too much for too long. But the problem is, if you keep calling yourself lazy, you will never fix the real issue. You'll keep blaming yourself instead of understanding yourself. And that keeps you stuck right here in the same cycle. Day after day, at some point, something inside you shifts. You stop blaming yourself just for a moment. And instead, you ask a different question. What if I'm not the problem? That question feels strange at first, because you're so used to thinking that you're the reason nothing works. But slowly, it starts to make sense. Because if you were truly lazy, you wouldn't feel this frustrated. You wouldn't care this much. You wouldn't think about changing your life every single day. Lazy people don't overthink their potential. You do. And that's the clue. The real issue isn't lack of motivation. It's overload. Your brain is tired of carrying too much noise. Too many thoughts. Too many expectations. Too many I should be better by now moments. So every time you try to push yourself harder, you break even more. Because pressure doesn't fix exhaustion. It makes it worse. And that's where most people get it wrong. They think they need more discipline, more motivation, more force. But you don't need more pressure. You need relief. You need space. Space to breathe. Space to think clearly. Space to reset your mind. Because clarity doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from slowing down. And this is the part people don't like to hear. Because slowing down feels like falling behind. It feels like you're losing time. Like you're doing less than everyone else. But the truth is, you've already been stuck. So what exactly are you afraid of losing? When your mind is overloaded, even simple tasks feel heavy. But when your mind is clear, everything becomes lighter. Not easy, but possible. So instead of trying to fix your whole life overnight, you start smaller. You stop trying to win the entire war and focus on one step, one small action, something so simple your brain can't reject it. And for the first time in a long time, you do it. It's not perfect. It's not impressive. But it's real. And that matters more than anything. Because that small action breaks the cycle. That one small action. It didn't change your life overnight. But it changed something more important. Your belief. For the first time in a long time, you proved to yourself that you can move. Even if it was small. Even if no one noticed. You did. And that matters. Because when your mind is exhausted, you don't need big victories. You need evidence. Proof that you're not stuck. Proof that you're not broken. Proof that you can still act. And that one action becomes two. Not immediately. Not perfectly. But gradually. You begin to understand your limits. Instead of fighting them blindly, you stop forcing yourself to do everything and start focusing on what actually matters. Less noise, more clarity, less pressure, more intention, and something strange begins to happen. Tasks that once felt impossible start feeling manageable. Not easy, but doable. And that's a huge difference. Because before, you were overwhelmed by everything. Now, you're handling one thing at a time. That's how control comes back. Slowly, quietly, powerfully, you begin to notice your patterns. When your energy drops, when your mind gets distracted, when you start overthinking, and instead of judging yourself, you adjust. You take breaks without guilt. You come back without shame. That alone changes everything. Because now you're no longer fighting yourself. You're working with yourself. And that's where real growth begins. Not in forcing, not in pressure, but in understanding. And suddenly, you're not calling yourself lazy anymore. Because deep down, you know the truth. You were never lazy. You were just overwhelmed. And now, you're learning how to take control again. At some point, you notice something different. You're no longer running. Not from your thoughts. Not from your responsibilities. Not from yourself. Before, every uncomfortable feeling felt like a signal to escape. You'd scroll. You'd delay. You distract yourself just to avoid that pressure. But now, you pause. You feel it. And you stay. That's new. That's powerful. Because most people spend their entire lives avoiding discomfort. But you're learning to face it. And the more you face it, the less power it has over you. You realize something important. Discomfort is not danger. It's growth. That heavy feeling you used to run from. It's not there to stop you. It's there to challenge you. And now, instead of escaping it, you move through it. Slowly, steadily, intentionally. You don't wait to feel ready anymore. Because you understand something most people don't. You will never feel fully ready. And that's okay. Action comes first. Clarity comes after. So you start doing things even when your mind resists. Not in a forced, aggressive way, but calmly, with control, with awareness. And that's the difference. Before you were reacting. Now you're choosing. Before, your mood controlled your actions. Now your actions guide your mood. And that flips everything. You begin to trust yourself again. Not because everything is perfect, but because you show up anyway. Even on bad days. Even when it's hard. Even when no one is watching. That builds something powerful. Self-trust. And once you have that, you don't need constant motivation anymore. You don't need to feel inspired. Because you know, no matter what happens, you won't abandon yourself. And that's when life changes. Not loudly, but permanently. And now look at yourself. Not the version that used to sit there, calling itself lazy, blaming itself, doubting everything. But this version, the one who understands, the one who moves even when it's hard, the one who doesn't run anymore. Take a moment. Remember those days when you couldn't even start, when everything felt heavy, when even small tasks looked impossible. You thought something was wrong with you. You thought you were weak. But you were. You were overwhelmed. Your mind was carrying too much. Without rest, without clarity, without support. And instead of recognizing that, you attacked yourself every day with words like, "I'm lazy. I'm useless. I'll never change." But now you see it differently. Now you understand. You were never lazy. You were just tired mentally. And once you stopped fighting yourself, everything started to change. Not instantly, not magically, but steadily. You learned how to listen to yourself, how to take small steps, how to rebuild your energy. And step by step, you came back, stronger, clearer, more in control. Not because life got easier, but because you got better. Better at handling pressure. Better at understanding your mind. Better at showing up even when it's uncomfortable. And that's real power. Not loud success. Not perfect routines. But the ability to keep going, even when your mind is tired. So if you ever feel that heaviness again, if your mind slows down, if you feel stuck, don't call yourself lazy. Pause, breathe, and remember who you are now. Someone who knows how to start again. Again, and again, and again. Because that's what makes you unstoppable.